At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Dabo ain't going to Alabama.
It's the arrival. I came in the league, went straight for the title.
He's got it! Jeremiah Smith!
The Michigan Wolverines shocked the college football world!
You know, some people gotta learn how to lose, man.
And after all that, it's Ohio State together at the mountaintop.
There's nothing quite like the game.
Michigan versus Ohio State.
This is The Rivalry. Proud to be part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and sponsored by Elevated Integrity Construction.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Welcome back to another episode of the Rivalry Podcast. It's Michigan and Ohio State college football podcast from River Radio Ministries, presented by our friends at Elevated Integrity Construction. My name is Jace. That's Mr. JP. You can follow us wherever you social media at RivalPod, at rivalpod.com. And wherever you're listening right now, or if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, leave a comment. Unless it's mean, then don't.
Then do it, because you know what? I felt like arguing lately.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
do it.
okay. If you've got mean things, just leave a 5-star review and then say the mean
then
thing,
say your mean thing.
But the subscriptions, the reviews, it takes like 25 seconds, and it really does help the algorithm. The robot overlords get us in front of more eyes and ears. So if you'd like to see the channel continue to grow here in season 7, that's how it's going to work, because small budget podcast. Mm-hmm. Also, if you'd like to support by buying yourself some merch or throwing like $12 our way, that's fine too. rivalpod.com. Now, typically, this is where we would do what we call wheel route. This is questions that kind of kick the conversation off. By the way, if you have a wheel route question, a topic you'd like us to discuss, send a direct message at RivalPod on any of our social media channels. That's great. Or leave it in the comments below on YouTube. Typically, that's what we do here. But JP, you're coming in with something else that you'd like to discuss.
I didn't want to chance it. I feel like,
what do you have for us this morning?
I feel like this just is something that I think a lot of people are interested in, that I just think we should have the discussion on.
Hit me with it.
Clemson. Because, oh man.
Let's go.
But more specifically, I want to just discuss this more thorough. So my question for the wheel route this morning: is this Dabo's last season at Clemson? There was a lot of conversation previously this past week where Dabo got up on stage and they kind of somewhat asked that. And he kind of laughed and said, well, yeah, if Clemson's tired of me winning, then yeah, they can let me go. But I'm going to go coach somewhere.
Send me on my way.
Yeah, I'm 55 years old. I'm just now getting good at coaching. Dabo, you're not. We seen it. You ain't. But I think that started to get me questioning, is this really the last season we see Dabo at the Clemson Tigers?
Man.
And if you believe so, where do you think his next tenure begins? I have a theory.
I feel like the answer is no. I think that he's back. Here's why. $60 million.
Valid.
Like, I think the buyout is a major reason why, because as much as we want to not think that money makes that decision, money makes a lot of those decisions. Now, I'm sure Clemson's booster program and whatever can rally together and make the buyout. But I also would say this. I think, as much as I have enjoyed the Clemson downfall this year, I do think Dabo has a point. When he's asking reporters, we've won the ACC 8 out of the last 10 years. Is that good?
Some would say.
Yeah,
is the ACC good? Well, some would say.
But also, I mean, think about his tenure. And again, a lot of it is, what have you done for me lately? But Dabo's won multiple national championships. He's won a ton of conference championships. Even last year, where it was like, oh, Clemson's not the old Clemson, they still made the playoff. They still won the conference.
But it didn't feel good.
But if you're a Clemson fan, you still did those things. And I think that there's a danger when you take a coach like that. And I'm not saying whether Clemson should or shouldn't. I'm just telling you, I do think he has a point when he asks in a bit of a vitriolic manner and says, is that good?
Mm-hmm.
I do think he has a point. He's got a track record of success. There's a danger in who else are you going to go get? There's I think it was Johnny Ginter from 11 Warriors after the Ohio State lost to Michigan 24, wrote about and did a phenomenal job. He's a great writer, but talked about whether or not Ohio State should keep Ryan Day. Different situation, but go with me here. And he talked about you're reaching your arm into a bucket of eels and seeing what you pull out. And yeah, maybe you end up with a Urban Meyer or Ryan Day, but maybe you end up with a Rich Rodriguez or a Brady Hoke, right? Mm-hmm. It was something in that vein. And I do think that applies here. Okay, you let Dabo go. Multiple national title winning coach, 8 out of 10, whatever. If you reach into the bucket of coaches, do you pull out an eel? And that can set, Michigan has seen that, how that can set your program back for a long, long time. I believe that Clemson is going to keep Dabo around. Where would he go otherwise? I couldn't tell you. I know you said you don't think he's going to be there, and that you have an idea of where he's going to be there.
Well, I could see it really going either way.
Well,
I don't
but
disagree.
that's not
I
the
don't
point.
disagree. I'm gonna stand on business here. I do think that this might be his last season in Clemson. I don't disagree with your points. I think, yeah, you can look at his track record, 8 out of the 10, but I also look at that and go, it's the ACC. Yep. Last year you won by beating an SMU team that, let's be real, probably was not they were an elite team. That's the issue we've harped on ever since the 12-team playoffs came out, is you're going to have these teams that just simply don't belong there, that because of their record and the conference they play in are going to squeak in, like SMU, Boise. You're going to have even the Indianas of last season that get in by and then just get dismantled. They just aren't even on the same tier. So that's the championship in a conference that Dabo's harping on, which he did those things, sure, but you're not out there winning Big Ten titles or SEC titles or anything like that. So there's just a different layer to it for me personally.
So if he goes from Clemson, I mean, what's your gut telling you that he'd end up?
And it's not going to happen. But this is what I could see, maybe even just down the road, because you look at another program that has high expectations, that hasn't met those expectations this year or last year so far, that their coach, even in year 2, is already kind of on the hot seat here. And then you look at Dabo, a guy with a rich history of success. And to me, I could see, depending on how both team seasons play out, a team like Alabama come calling. He's not going to Alabama. I could see a guy like Kalen get let go, and I know that buyout is massive as well, but they were already talking about it. Alabama boosters will throw money out the door to get rid of him if their program's not succeeding. And I think Dabo would be the perfect fit. He's a guy that would immediately bring energy to that program. He would get people excited about Bama football again. He's that high-level hire for a program like that had, Saban for years. Then they had Kalen, who everybody's kind of thought would be the guy, and he's not met expectations. And everybody's kind of been in a downward slump since then. This is the guy to kind of bring that juice back to the program. And I could see it.
Dabo ain't going to Alabama.
You heard it here first.
You
heard it here first.
If he's gone, there's another SEC program that you could have said that I would have been a lot more likely to buy, and it would be Florida. I would be a lot more likely to buy Florida than Alabama. Now, I think he will be back at Clemson. But if we're going to say he's departing and he's going to the SEC, it ain't going to be Bama. Billy Napier sitting there at 1-3 now, and
well, DJ Lagway, who would have thunk?
My guy.
But you look at guys, and this is really the last point for Clemson, but I'm looking at Dabo and I'm going, okay, last year, sure, you made the playoffs, but you still kind of underperformed. People had high expectations last season. You didn't meet those. Then this year, you clearly haven't met those, and this is about to be week 5, and we're just now, you've already got 2 losses on there. 3, right?
He's got 3.
3 now.
Yeah, LSU, Georgia Tech, and now Syracuse.
And if I'm basing my opinion off how you've played so far.
And also, we're down by 16 to Troy.
Mm-hmm. And so you still have Florida State, who I'm not convinced you'll beat. You have to go to Louisville, who I'm also now not convinced you will beat. And then you also have South Carolina at the very last game, and it's an away game at South Carolina. Those are 3 very losable games for this Clemson team. It would not surprise me to see Clemson have 4 or 5 losses on their schedule. And the way that I look at it is Dabo going off a disappointing season, coming in and going in a massive 3 losses in and of itself right now, even if they win out, is a massive disappointment given the talent on this roster. Yeah. Then next season, he basically has to rebuild because his entire, the majority of his defensive line that's NFL talent is gone. You no longer have a Cade Klubnik. Do you really want to go in? Worse? Well, but I think there's no doubt Klubnik is a good quarterback. So then you go in there and you look at, okay, well, you got to bring a new face behind center. Do you want to even go through that anymore? Yeah,
Clemson's weird, and so many people were talking about Clemson as being this national title contender and making a deep playoff run. And
I'm people.
You and I agreed on, we both took Clemson to win the ACC. But you had a lot of belief in Clemson going really deep in the playoffs.
I thought they would go deep.
And I told you that while I picked them for the ACC championship, I didn't buy it. I didn't buy that they were a deep contender. And so I at least feel validated in that. I feel like a fool for picking them to win the ACC at this point. Because,
don't we all?
Holy cow. Look at what Miami's doing right now.
The only reason I don't is because everybody else probably is sane probably also had Clemson in the ACC championship. So
the only other thing that I want to mention here, kind of off Clemson, is I feel like the other team that's in the same boat right now, and they're coming from a different place, is Mike Gundy in Oklahoma State, Dabo with a mullet, if you will, and they got beat at home. Here's how bad it is for Oklahoma State right now. Got beat by Tulsa at home in Stillwater for the first time since 1951. That's not good. I spent, my wife and I spent a couple years in Stillwater, like 2 miles from Oklahoma State. And I can tell you, people are not real thrilled about the result of this season. They went like 3-9 last year, I think. I think it was 3-9. Not a great start to the year. They got shellacked by Oregon, and then you got beat by Tulsa in your own building. Oklahoma State may not win another football game this year. And Mike Gundy and Dabo, maybe they could join forces in Alabama.
Can't wait to see him on the sidelines with Chris Ash from Notre Dame. He can join that party as well. I know Notre Dame fans are already calling for him. And as a Rutgers fan, you should. Guy's terrible.
Ohio State coming off the bye week and heading into their Big Ten opener. First road game of the season for Ohio State. They go to Seattle. They'll take on DeMond Williams and Washington. There's a lot of storylines around this football game, but I'm curious. Obviously, you're the Buckeye fan here. What are some of the things that you're looking for in this game that will, that's gonna influence the outcome? Because I feel like there's a lot of firepower on both sides here.
Yeah, I think for me, it's pretty obvious. It's got to start with the run game. We've harped on that all season. Ohio State has struggled with that until recently, I guess, with the emergence of Bo Jackson. Right now, Washington goes into this game ranked 9th in the nation in run defense, only allowing 62 yards per game. You obviously have a loaded Ohio State wide receiver room, but it's going to be easier to key in on those guys when you don't have to worry about the run. So I think that's going to be huge. I'm very curious about how Ohio State's defense will manage this Washington offense, because right now they're averaging like 530 plus yards a game. DeMond Williams has been a stud. He can hurt you with the legs. He can hurt you with his arm. He's just been an absolute playmaker. I'm curious if this Ohio State defense is able to contain him whatsoever. And then lastly, I want to see the run game for Ohio State. I just got done talking about that, but I want to see, and Ryan Day kind of hinted at this with Bo Jackson, that as he's able to carry more, they're going to give him more. And so I'm hoping that turns into a literal statement, and that they do give him the ball more. To me, he just shows a different level on every single surface. So I want to see what Bo Jackson can do. If Ohio State can get the run game even going moderately here, I think Ohio State can win this game. If they're struggling, then I start to get a little bit nervous.
I think one of the big concerns I have for Washington is I'm not convinced that their defense, and the run defense has been good. You're right, but I'm not convinced that their secondary is all that good. Now they've played They've played Colorado State, who's not a very good program. They've played, by the way, shout out our boys at Meep Meep Nation, UTSA, big win over Colorado State. But Colorado State's just not a good program. They almost got beat by Northern Colorado earlier this year on a very controversial overturn. So anyway, that's a whole thing. Colorado State, not great. UC Davis is a real school that Washington played. But to Washington's credit, they also just hung 59 points on their rival.
Oh, every single game they've had like 550 plus yards of offense. I mean, it's been crazy.
The problem is that they gave up like 21 to Colorado State. They gave up 24 to Washington State. And so I think you could look at that in isolation, and I'm choosing to, and go, that concerns me that you're giving up that many points, and you're giving up an average number of points to teams that aren't all that good offensively, and you've got Ohio State coming in. I think that is my biggest question mark for Washington. There's no doubt that the offense is incredibly talented, but the secondary is a concern because Jeremiah Smith is out there. Carnell Tate is out there. Max Clare has been kind of quiet for me so far.
You still got to take account
and this
for him.
This is an opportunity where if your secondary is a little bit weaker, at least it seems to be so far for me, where if you do key in on receivers, this is the type of game where a tight end can be there. I don't know that there's anybody on Washington that can cover Jeremiah Smith. There's
nobody in the nation.
There's
that can
very
cover
few
Jeremiah
in the
Smith.
nation that can cover Jeremiah. But if you decide to bracket him off, well, you've still got to account for Carnell Tate, and now you've got Max Clare open.
And I know he hasn't performed much, but Brandon Ennis is still no sleeper. Like, he's not a home run guy like a Carnell Tate or Jeremiah
Nobody's concerned
Smith.
about Brandon Ennis.
Hey, I ain't lost faith in my boy right there.
Just let me give you a compliment, okay? No one cares about Brandon Ennis, but I do think that Ohio State's offense can give Washington some trouble in the secondary. I think the flip side of that is what you've already alluded to, which is how curious it will be to see, because this is where I'm real interested as well. I think everybody is. What's the Ohio State defense do with that triple threat? DeMond Williams at quarterback, Jonah Coleman at running back. I don't know that there's anybody in the country that can cover Denzel Boston right now at wide receiver.
He was great last year.
So you've got this triple threat that Ohio State just hasn't had to deal with. You're coming off a game against Grambling and a game against Ohio. That is not going to remotely prepare you for Washington. Now, the Texas game is still a massive win for Ohio State. But I would also say, and I genuinely am not trying to be biased even on a rivalry podcast like this, but I said this last week, like, are we not all kind of looking at Texas scratching our heads a little bit here with the way that Arch is playing? And so the only reason I say that is I think we do have to take the defensive performance against Texas with a little grain of salt, at least, to go, this is still a very good Ohio State defense, but let's maybe kind of take it into with more context now, kind of look at the broader data points that we're seeing from from Texas and go, it's still good, but it's maybe not as elite a performance as we expected.
To me, I think the defense is going to be fine. We have the best secondary in the nation. Our linebacking crew is great. I think the biggest question for me is the same thing it's been, and it's the same as the same question I've had for offense. It's going to be the D line.
Sure.
Do they have the depth? Are they going to be able to get enough pressure? Because if you let DeMond sit back there all day, they ain't going to spell nothing good for you. So I'm looking at that game and I'm watching, can Caden Curry, can Kenyatta Jackson, can Bo Atkinson, can those guys wreak havoc in the backfield, make it uncomfortable, force some bad throws? And I trust the guys in the secondary. I trust the Caleb Downs. I trust the Jordan Hancocks. I trust those guys to be able to make the right plays. The Jermaine Matthews. I trust them to be able to make the plays. And I trust the linebacking crew in Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese has been just an absolute
He's
stud.
been really good.
And so I trust that. To me, it's just the running game. This is one of those games where I see stats and I want to trust those. I saw something where it said Ryan Day coming off of a bye is 6-0 and he averages like 40 points a game in those games. And I do believe that, I think Ryan Day and his staff are really great. You get 2 weeks to prep for this team. Your game plan should be solid because of that. They've got the athletes to come out there and make the plays to execute that game plan. So I want to trust that. But this offense is probably the scariest they're going to face all year.
It's incredibly good. And despite, I mean, we preach all the time that you can't just look at a box score stat lines, but I mean, coming off the bye last year was the Nebraska game for Ohio State. And that was an atrocious performance that they got. And again, to their credit, like made a 1 or 2 goal line stands in that game, but got, in one sense, got fortunate that Nebraska didn't upset them in their own building after coming off the bye week. And that was a big source of consternation for Ohio State fans. Now, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen here, but just because you're coming off a bye, I mean, we saw Michigan do the same thing last year where Michigan came off a bye and looked completely flat. So sometimes it's a good rest, and sometimes it gets you completely out of rhythm.
And one thing that we haven't talked about, but we've talked about it numerous times for other teams. I mean, this is Julian Sayan's first road game.
100%.
And we've talked about that with Bryce Underwood. We've talked about it with Arch Manning going into the shoe. And so that's a huge thing for me. Is
young quarterbacks on the road.
It's easy to go out there and play well when you're at home and the crowd's behind you, but that's going to be a loud stadium on Saturday.
Washington has, I couldn't believe this. Washington has the second longest home winning streak in the nation behind Georgia. Think about how hard it is to play at Georgia. Washington has this, I believe they've won 20. I want to say, I may get it's somewhere between 21 and 23. So we'll say 22, somewhere around 22 home games in a row that Washington has won in Seattle, an incredibly difficult place to go play. They get the advantage of this not being at night, which is great because it doesn't kick off at 11 p.m. Shout out USC for beating Michigan State in the wee hours of Sunday morning. This is a tough place to play, and he's not had that experience there. And you're exactly right. It's very different from playing Grambling at 3:30 at home, right? Here's where we're getting to, because it's time to make the predictions at some point, right? I could see this going 2 ways. I could see either Washington winning a close game or Ohio State just blowing them out. I don't think that Ohio State wins a close game, if that makes sense. Like, I think either Washington hangs with them and the offense is too much and they pull out a close one, or Ohio State just lights up this secondary and beats them by 1,007.
From your lips to God's ears.
No, I said maybe.
So what's your score here?
I'm going to take Washington as my stupid genius this week. Washington's 9.5-point dogs. I have been here's why, because everything that I said about their secondary being concerning is 100% true. I'm very concerned about the secondary. However, I think that we're going to see a little bit of a shootout here. I think Ohio State's offense will click fine, but I think Washington's will too, because I just think that Damon Williams, not just dropping back and throwing to Denzel Boston, but also his ability to use his legs, his mobility, I think is going to be an issue for that defense, so that even if you are getting pressure, man scrambles outside, he might take off. I think that's a concern. I think Jonah Coleman, we've barely mentioned him, but Jonah Coleman's one of the best, if not the best running back in the Big Ten. One of the best in the country. I just think that there's a lot of weapons there for both of these teams. I'm seeing a high scoring game, and I've been saying since the preseason, almost nobody's talking about Washington as a trap game for Ohio State. I feel like I've, put a stake in the ground on 2 things since the preseason. LSU and Washington being a trap game. I'm going to continue to ride that. Washington is going to beat Ohio State in a shootout in Seattle. The home streak continues.
What's your official score?
38-34.
38-34. Well, you've not hit a single stupid genius this year, so I feel pretty safe.
And y'all are going to have to, we'll run this back. Listen, we'll run this back either way. Washington wins, and y'all are going to have to come back and apologize. Y'all are going to have to come back to YouTube, come back to the podcast, leave a 5-star review, and then tell me I'm an idiot. That's fine.
Or just leave a 5-star review and tell him he's an idiot. Because
you're going to have to come back and apologize.
That's not going to happen. However, I think the opposite of you, not in the sense that I think Ohio State's going to win, because I do. That's my pick to not surprise anybody.
Wow, shocking.
I actually think it's going to be a little bit of a boring game. I feel like, and this is just going off vibes, which I do from time to time.
You don't come to this podcast for the X's and O's. You come here for vibes.
This comes across to me. You have 2 really, really talented offenses. And I feel like almost every single time that 2 teams like that face off, they don't do trash. It ends up just being kind of a snooze fest. And I think Ohio State's defense is going to come out and they're going to have a great performance. I think Washington is going to be able to stop the run, which is going to slow things up for Ohio State. I have Ohio State winning 24-13. I think this is a little bit like around halftime, probably a I don't know, like a 17-7 game, Ohio State, and then it kind of stays the same throughout. It's not going to be anything crazy exciting. You might have a home run play here or there from either team. It just kind of feels like it's going to be a game. You know what I mean, though? You know what I mean, though?
No,
like
I do, though.
It just gives me that vibe.
Yeah, there are absolutely matchups where at the end of the day you go, well, that was a football game, and I watched it.
I would say the Texas OSU game from this year, where everybody talked about how talented these offenses are, and then they came out and said, "What is the offense on the field with us?"
When I think, I think I even saw on the podcast, you know, and we disagreed a little bit about whether it was elite defensive play or not. But I said after the game, I said it's kind of a boring, sloppy football game.
I don't think this is going to be sloppy. I think it's just going to be not like a defensive slugfest.
This isn't one that you look at back and go, wow, I can't wait to watch the highlights from that.
Yeah. Like it's going to be what it is. Okay, Ohio State 24, Washington 13.
We are usually even when we're picking Ohio State, Michigan, right? So we're on opposite sides. I feel like we're typically pretty close in the ballpark with each other on how the game's going to go. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes picking the same team. It doesn't surprise me that you picked Ohio State here. I didn't expect you to pick Washington, but the style of gameplay could not be further apart. So I'm real interested in that.
I just don't think the run game is going to get going. And I think Julian's saying, as much as I believe in him, I think he's going to struggle slightly. And so he's not going to go out there and throw 3 bombs, you know, like he's been doing recently.
What was your final?
24-13.
All right. 24-13 Ohio State. I have 38-34 Washington. I think y'all will have to come back and apologize, or y'all come back and I'll eat crow. Either way, you should probably subscribe to the podcast. And again, rate and review. That'd be pretty cool if you want to go ahead and do that. Hey, maybe you feel a little bit like Dabo Sweeney and Clemson. It just hits, man.
It does. It hits different today.
You're trying to build like a champion, but you might not know how to execute it because you won't go to the transfer portal. Anyway, Aaron and the team at Elevated Integrity Construction have a winning pedigree and a team of All-Americans, a juggernaut of the industry, and they have built a dynasty of championship builders. For your home, church, or business build, go with the folks with integrity in their name. ElevatedIntegrity.com. Shout out Aaron and his team sponsoring the podcast again this year. We are also proud to have a new partner. We're partnering with our friends at Homage. And if you're watching on YouTube, got the retro Detroit Tigers Homage shirt here as they try to collapse in their American League.
I would love it if they would. Would be great if they would simply lose.
What's amazing is that I've watched like 2 baseball games in the last 10 years, and it was like the Tigers in the playoffs last year. And so like there's the part of me that's like, oh, in the playoffs, like, oh, okay, I'll get into it. And as I'm just watching the lead dwindle away, I go, right, that's why I'm not going to get the Lions play tonight. I'm not getting emotionally involved in anybody else right now. Since 2007, Homage has been helping fans pay homage to the people, places, teams, and moments that matter most to them. Quality craftsmanship, elite storytelling, and trademarked legendary comfort. If you go down into the show notes, either on YouTube or whatever podcast app you're listening from right now, you will see a link there to Homage. You can get yourself. They've got some fantastic Ohio State stuff, some fantastic Detroit sports stuff, a ton of other stuff in there as well. Hockey, soccer, whatever, pop culture stuff. They're fantastic. If you click the link in the notes below, not only can you get yourself some Homage merch, which is the softest t-shirt or crew neck or whatever that you'll ever have, but it will also help support the podcast. Again, small budget podcast means a lot if you do that. Go ahead and click the link there. You can also go to rivalpod.com, click shop, or is it shop or support? Anyway, you'll see it. It's shop or support on there. You can get yourself a rivalry t-shirt, which Mr. JP is wearing. Again, if you're watching on YouTube right now, we've got Ohio State and Michigan rivalry shirts. You can get that. Or if you just want to throw $5 to help cover the cost of a sandwich on the way to Ann Arbor in a couple weeks, that's awesome too. Thank you for doing that. More than anything, thank you for listening, rating, and reviewing. We are proud members of the Varsity Network again this year, powered by our friends at Learfield. The Varsity Network is the must-have app if you're a college football fan. Live broadcasts, on-demand podcasts just like this one. Free to download in whatever app store you choose, and find the Varsity Network for free in that app store, and be sure to search for the Rivalry Podcast. There was just great football.
That was the best thing about Ohio State not having a game this week, is that I got to just vibe.
Man.
There was so many. It started Friday with the Rutgers Iowa game, and which, despite the result, was a fun game to watch. And then
sure.
And then till the end, And then it was sad. And then Saturday was just a killer lineup of stuff as well.
How are you going to give up, as the resident Rutgers fan, how are you going to give up 40 points to Iowa?
Can we just talk about how frustrating it is that for years since I've done this podcast, Rutgers has had zero offense. Then we finally get an offense and we lost our defense. The defense is what kept us in games for years now.
Well,
and now we couldn't stop me on that football field.
All three people listening to this podcast who care about Rutgers are really
and I'm all three of them. Two of them are my burner accounts.
Are really disappointed alongside you. I am excited about that. We'll get to pick them here after we talk Michigan, Nebraska. But this weekend, just heads up, is probably the greatest college football slate period of this entire season. It's going to be fantastic. And I'm excited that one, Michigan gets the bye week, so I don't have to stress about it. And two, like Michigan's coming off a big win on the road, so you feel good actually in your bye week.
I had some friends that were trying to plan like a guy's trip to go to Athens, Ohio to see Ohio versus Bowling Green. And I quickly nixed that and said, and hear me out.
We watch actual football.
We don't, and we just watch Ohio State this weekend and have a great time.
Is that, did they go for that?
Yeah, they went for
Fantastic.
that.
Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. Let's talk Michigan at Nebraska. Speaking of the Wolverines heading into the bye week at 3-1 now. That is a massive, just as an overview, that's a massive win for Michigan. We likened it last episode. Go back and listen to it, but we likened it last episode to what Michigan had in 2024. Different ways that they lost in week 2, but you had an SEC game, Texas in 24, Oklahoma in 25, where you had high expectations for it and you lost, and you lost pretty straight up. Like, clearly Texas was a better team.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, different style, but clearly the better team in that game. And you then looked ahead to week 4, USC last year, at Nebraska this year, and went, okay, this game is going to determine how much fun I have the rest of the season. Michigan in 24 pulls it out against USC, but even the way they won that game, you went, that wasn't great. Kalel Mullings kind of pulls the game out of his rear, and Michigan manages to win the game and still falls off a cliff. This did not feel like that. Michigan gets a huge win on the road, 30-27. And if we're being honest about it, this game was not as close as 30-27.
No.
This felt not as dramatically, but this felt similar to Oklahoma a couple weeks ago, shooting themselves in the foot repeatedly, inviting Michigan into the football game where it looked kind of close, but Oklahoma was clearly the better football team. It wasn't quite as dramatic in this game.
I'm glad you can admit that now.
But Michigan was clearly the better football team, at least for the majority of this football game. And a 3-point final score, if you're box score hopping, you go, oh man, it was a nail biter at the end in one sense, but also Michigan had big control of this game. So let's start with the good, because there was a lot of good coming from this game. Actually, let's not. Let's start with the bad.
I was going to say,
let's get the bad out of the way. The bad for me was, I just wrote down, what are we doing sometimes? And these are going to be should be the two obvious things. The use of timeouts. And by the use of timeouts, I mean the lack of use of timeouts at the end of the half for Michigan. That sets up a Nebraska Hail Mary. Now, when Nebraska's bleeding the clock down between second and third down, I had no problem with it. Michigan's just like, okay, that's fine. We're not trying to stop the clock and get the ball back, and we're just going to let you run yourselves out of time, which didn't make a lot of sense for me.
Yeah.
If I'm Nebraska, I would have been taking shots. It's like, if Michigan gets the ball at this point, they're not going to do anything.
No.
So that felt like a weird decision by Matt Rule. Now, it ends up that they get stopped, and then Michigan decides, instead of taking a timeout and forcing a punt, we're going to let them bleed the clock down. And I don't know if they thought that they were just going to run the clock out. I'm not sure what they were thinking.
Well, that's what Nebraska looked like they were going to do. Like the entire time. I even tweeted it out on my own personal account, not the rivalry, but I tweeted it out when they were like close to midfield. And then all of a sudden they start kind of designing these plays like they're just going to go into the half with the score 17-10 and just regroup and get it together. And they're not using any timeouts. And then all of a sudden I see Matt Rule on the sideline calling timeouts like, well, we're going to run a couple more plays after like 30 seconds had gone off. And I tweeted something like, has he been studying James Franklin's tape?
Yeah.
Because what in the world kind of game management is that?
Well, I jinxed it because I said, oh, look, Matt Rule with an online degree from the Sharon Moore School of Clock Management there. And then Sharon's not even involved. And Biff Poggi, who should know better. You're like 80. He's not. I don't know how old Biff Poggi is. Like, Biff, it's just the frustration because that completely changed the feel of the game. Mm-hmm. Michigan's up 17-10, is getting the ball at the half, is going to have a chance to double dip if the offense can come out and perform. Nebraska, had just tied up the game, and Michigan took it right back from them. Justice Haynes rips off a massive touchdown run, and you go, okay, Michigan let him back in and now has a chance to kind of create some distance. Yeah. And the game management again. And thank God probably that it's not Sharon Moore making that decision, because I don't know if I'd ever forgive him for that. At least Biff can go, okay, he's the interim, whatever. How does that keep happening now?
Biff. Every single time he gets on the mic, either post game or at halftime, he just says the most quotable things.
What are you going to do after this win? Well, I'm probably going to have some Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream with my wife.
Great taste,
smoke a Cuban cigar, and then go to the hospital. What a quote.
That's my typical Saturday.
What an amazing thing. What an Italian man. Anywho, that was an absolute mistake. I don't know what we're doing there. The other big mistake is just Braden Hillman taunting the sideline. Again, a critical moment because it is 27-17 late in the third quarter. Nebraska's about to punt. Michigan's getting the ball with a chance to slam the door shut on Nebraska. And a guy who's not even involved in the play decides to taunt the sideline? What are we doing sometimes? And this has been an issue for Michigan. Jair Hill has been very close on a number of occasions, including in this game. Mm-hmm. And there's a sense in which you can look at it and go, well, that's on coaching. I mean, maybe, but also maybe you just have young guys who shouldn't be doing dumb stuff. Like, I don't know that I'm going to look at Sharon Moore or Biff Poggi and go, hey, Braden Hillman taunting the Nebraska sideline is on you. No, it's on Hillman. But what I expect to happen is I would like to see a crackdown on, let's make an example out of this, because that could have cost you the football game. Now, it ends up not mattering in the long run, but you have a chance to slam the door shut on an opponent on the road in the Big Ten. And instead, you swing that door wide open for him again. Completely changed the feel of that game. So when I say, hey, this game didn't feel as close, it's because, and again, I hate when people do this, but just ride with me on this for a moment. Get rid of the Hail Mary and get rid of the 3 points off the taunting penalty. This game is now 30-17, and that's about what it felt like. But you can't make mistakes like that. So that's a couple issues that I had. The secondary for Michigan, I said going into the game, made me a little bit nervous with Dylan Raiola back there. They gave up about 300 passing yards. That's still a concern for me. Now, I grant you, this is a young group. They're dealing with injuries. Zeke Berry did not play in this game, so you've got guys out there like Jaden Sanders, freshman. Jair Hill's a sophomore. Elijah Dotson's a freshman. Shamari Earl's got in. He's a freshman. Mason Curtis is in there. He's a sophomore. I get that there's some growing pains that come with this. But that's still something that you're going to have to deal with because you've got Jaden Mayava coming up at USC. You've got, as hot and cold as he is, Aiden Childs is coming up. You've got Julian Sayin. You've got DeMond Williams. So there's growing pains there for the secondary, but they're going to have to grow up, and they're going to need to grow up fast. Were they terrible? I don't think they were terrible, but it wasn't as up to the level that they're probably going to need to play. This thing, I'll get to good here in a second. The other issue that I had in this game is the receivers for Michigan just have got to be more consistent. Donovan McCulley, I think, has been the most consistent. I love that Michigan is doing a couple throw big man the ball plays, even the one where he couldn't quite get his foot in bounds. Yeah. Love that play. Fantastic catch. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this hot and cold thing. Samaj Morgan has been the perfect example of this, where Samaj had a couple massive catches in this game. He had a 16-yarder early in the game, showed off his speed, was great. He had a critical third down conversion, shook off a tackle, used his speed, got to the first down, kept that critical drive going near the end of the game. The problem is that he's not consistent. He had a handful of drops that just can't happen. Channing Goodwin had dropped a touchdown pass that was just put right there for him. Again, that changes the outcome oftentimes of these football games. And so, if this were the Oregon Trail, Michigan would have died of dropsy. You've got to be consistent. And so if Michigan can find that wide receiver 2 consistency, whether it's Goodwin or Samaj, you've got Donovan McCulley, you've got Marlon Klein / Hogan Hansen. If you can add a third receiver in there or a third pass catcher in there consistently, I mean, it's all right there. We know what the run game is, right? So those are some of the concerns that I have for Michigan. Did you have any, before we get to the really good stuff? Like, are any of those unfair from the Ohio State perspective?
No, I don't think any of that's unfair. The question that I have, and I kind of already know your opinion on this, is the Bryce Underwood situation. Because I'm watching this game, and like, he had some plays. He had his touchdown run that was really nice. He showed off the athleticism we all knew was there. Outside of that, I'm going to be honest, a relatively quiet game from him.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I'm looking at this from a bigger picture sort of view. Is there any concern? Concern's not even the right word.
No, I know
for
what you're
it,
saying, though.
But this is his second road game.
Yeah.
Both of those road games against competent opponents, he has not looked great, if we're being honest. I thought Oklahoma, he was pretty mid. This game, he was outside of that touchdown run, pretty mid. What, if any, are there any concerns as a Michigan fan watching that, knowing that you've got some bigger road games coming up?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Obviously, I think he'll be fine in the long run.
Yeah,
He's a freshman.
But you're looking at a game like USC.
Sure. Walking into environments like that, is there any, and honestly, even home games against some more competent opponents, is there any concern on his performance? Because right now, I mean, we've not really touched on this, but we're gonna.
Yeah.
The big reason that Michigan won this game was because of their defense in the run game, which has been the case for a couple of years now. But is there any concern with him at quarterback against some of these more competent teams?
I don't have any concerns here. And again, I'm one person, and I'm sure that every fan has an idea of how concerned it should be.
I guess my other second question to that is why? Like, what has he done that against a competent defense is going to give you some confidence with him?
I think you see the passes and the touch on the ball. And again, I think part of the reason why I'm not concerned is I think that the drops from the receivers, I think, do definitely impact the stat line, right? And frankly, I'm not really concerned as much about the stat line. It was 12 for 22, something like that.
Yeah, some of them were just, they looked good, but they were just slightly ahead. Like, I'm thinking of the one in the end zone that could have been caught. I mean, it was almost right there.
Channing Goodwin's got his fingers on it. You got to catch it.
I don't know if he had enough of his hand on it to snag
I thought that was a great ball. See, I didn't think that was on Bryce.
I think, yes, I think it's on Bryce. I think it was a little bit too far. I don't think he got enough of his fingertips on it to be able to make a play on that with the pressure behind him. You could see it even in that throw of, that's a freshman.
I feel like, and absolutely, there's absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and be like he was phenomenal, but I do think that I thought that ball was right where it should have been, and I thought Channing Goodwin should have caught it, and I think that there's been a number of passes that we've seen where the ball's been there. Yeah, maybe it's not perfect because it's still a freshman throwing passes, but for the most part, the ball has been really good, and guys just got to hang on to it. They got to be consistent. Yeah, I don't have any. So that's one reason I don't have concerns. I think one of the things that I really liked in this game is obviously I like the fact that they are choosing to let him use his legs more. Obviously, the 37 yard touchdown run, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Nobody around him for 15 yards. Great call. You saw the speed, you saw the athleticism, fantastic. Because what it does is even just knowing that that's unlocked, this leads into the run game a little bit. It makes other teams account for that. So when he drops back, you know that he can hit Marlon Klein or he can hit Donovan McCulley. He also could hand it off to Justice Haynes or Jordan Marshall, whoever's there, or he can keep it. So it's obviously not a triple option every play, but you have a triple option of things that you've got to account for now, where most teams, I would say, only have a couple, right? It's either a handoff or a pass. Now that you've got, but what if he keeps it? You've got to play your defense a little bit different. And it gives you that little extra half step if you do choose to keep or you do choose to hand it off. Gives you that extra half second or that extra half step. When the defense hesitates, that's where explosive players can exploit that. And I think Bryce has done that a handful of times. I also just thought that he continues. I know he had the fumble, but overall, over these first 4 games here, he's not turned the ball over hardly. Like he's made very few
you can take that with
possession
a grain
changes.
of salt. There have been games like last week against Central where, I mean, if Central's defender,
Well, and he threw a pick in that game, but I'm
and
saying
it should have been 2.
but it wasn't.
But if they weren't playing Central Michigan, it probably is.
But he didn't turn the ball over against Oklahoma. Didn't turn the ball over against New Mexico. Didn't turn had the fumble against Nebraska. I can live with that. It's not the Aiden Childs turnover experience, right? Which is the concern when you have a young freshman, when you have a young quarterback as a freshman. I'm not seeing that from Bryce. I feel like he makes good decisions with the football most of the time. Not perfect. So no, that's a lot of words to say. I don't have those concerns. I can understand why, if there's a fan you're talking to who says, I'm concerned about this, I can understand where you might. I think that you've also got to just you got to let your playmakers go make plays.
Concern feels like too big of a word for this. It's more so, how much confidence do you have in a Bryce Underwood against a competent Big Ten team at home or on the road?
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at Washington, Wisconsin even.
I think last week you asked me that and I gave you a 7. I'd still say I'm at a 7. I feel far more confident than not. Michigan's run game, Michigan's run game continues to just be fantastic. Justice Haynes, 75-yard touchdown. Jordan Marshall, 54. Underwood, of course, had the 37-yard touchdown run. And what I appreciate about this run game, as we talk about some of the really good stuff from this game, is that it's not just feast or famine. It's not just, hey, occasionally somebody hits. I mean, Michigan ran for 286 yards on Nebraska. They outrushed him, 286 to 43?
I had it as 290 to 43.
Sure. It was a lot to a little.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is certainly, the talent from Bryce and from Justice and from Jordan. But I think we'd be remiss to not mention the Michigan offensive line in this game. Massive concern coming out of Oklahoma. Just could not block to save their lives. The run game blocking was absolutely fantastic. I would say that not all concerns are magically alleviated here, but I would say that Nebraska's got at least a decent defensive line. They're not fantastic. We said that we thought Michigan could run the ball on them because Cincinnati outran them 200 to 100.
Yeah.
But Nebraska, this is still a Big Ten defensive line. And I thought that the offensive line did a fantastic game. Greg Crippen in particular, and they pointed this out on the broadcast, both the long touchdowns from Haynes and Marshall. He opens up on the line and he bounces off his guy and smacks the linebacker. That's what creates that hole for the explosiveness for both those guys. It's Greg Crippen helping to create that. And he's been much maligned and probably rightly so, but he creates the initial gap, bounces off and hits the linebacker. That's why those plays are open. And that was just a heck of an effort from him, from an offensive line that doesn't have their captain in Gio El Hadi still. This is a bye week to hopefully get him back healthy. I don't know what his status is going to be, but that's a great bounce back performance against competent opponents here against Nebraska. I also think, as an aside, that we may have learned that the Oklahoma game may have been less to do, not completely, but less to do with Michigan's offensive line and more to do with how good that Oklahoma defense is.
For sure.
10 I think got adjusted to 9, but 10 sacks on Auburn. Maybe Oklahoma's defensive line is just really good, you guys.
Yeah.
The other thing that we'd be remiss not to mention is just Michigan's front seven. Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't just off blitzes, but I think they pressured Raiola on something like 24 of 49 dropbacks. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Well, I was watching the game with my dad and we were sitting there watching it and it seemed like every single time that Raiola dropped back, within a couple of seconds, a Michigan dude was right there. And there were some times where Dylan Raiola held the ball for what felt like 15 seconds.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, that's why Dylan Raiola isn't that good yet, because he still makes mistakes like that. Yeah. There was one point in the game, I don't even remember exactly when, where he should have taken the sack, and instead he just launched it. Yeah. And we had no idea what in the world was going on, why you would make a choice like that. It reminded me of Kyle McCord from years ago, where he would feel the pressure and just go, oh, I got to get rid of this, and just hot potato it to somebody else. I was going to
say, there was one in particular. Yeah, I think this is maybe the one you were thinking about, where he was going down, he just kind of chucks it forward, and it's like, whoa, don't throw it. If you're Nebraska, don't throw that.
And the amount of times that he would drop back, feel the pressure, and then instead of kind of securing the ball, he's running around holding it like he's got a flag or something that people are chasing him.
When Jayshon Barham is bearing down on you, may I suggest you tuck the ball?
May I suggest you tuck the ball and not wave it around like you've got a trophy or something?
Or may I suggest you do? I don't know. But I mean, 7 sacks in this game, fantastic for Michigan. You know, you don't want to see a live by the blitz, die by the blitz thing. You know, that was Doc Brown. This didn't feel like it. And again, I'd have to go back and say, like, well, how many blitzes were actually dialed up? Don't know. You're not here for X's and O's. But the pass rush, the pressure was like, again, 47% of dropbacks or whatever. Absolutely fantastic. And so, wow, that's part of why, even with the 300 passing yards, why I'm not terribly concerned about it is I look at the front 7, the line and the linebacking core, and I go, that makes up for a lot of youth and inexperience back there. Because if you don't have time, you don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought that, the 300 passing yards, because Nebraska could not run the football. I mean, I think they had 10 rushing yards in the second half. Yeah. Like that's incredible.
And like 15 of those 43 yards were off the very first play.
And so
he goes, and I was like, "Oh, this might actually be a game." And then it wasn't.
When you can't run the ball and you throw, I mean, he threw 40 plus times in this game.
It was 41.
I'm not okay with it, but I'm almost okay.
Well, what else were they going to do?
A quarterback throws 40 plus times. Also, 50 of those were on a Hail Mary. So, and again, ifs, ands, and buts, I get that. If you're throwing for 40 times during the game for like 250 and getting sacked 7 times, I'm probably pretty good with that performance.
Yeah, I'd take that every time.
Michigan, I know Ohio State fans listen to this. They're like, shut up about Michigan. That's what we're here for. It's a rivalry podcast. Go subscribe to House Rules with Matt Rule.
Don't.
Maybe don't. I was kidding. I am going to listen to it this week, though, because I'm very interested in what he has to say. Michigan, obviously, on the bye week, gets Wisconsin next week. Wisconsin's so bad, you guys. Wisconsin is so bad.
I felt like people kind of hyped up the OSU trip there this year.
Yes. No.
It ain't going to be fun for the Badgers.
We will be in Ann Arbor for Wisconsin, Michigan. So that will be fun for me.
Look,
I'm going to enjoy. I think it's
amazing. Bad in Badgers.
I think it's a maze-out game, too, so I'm pretty pumped about that. It's our first trip to Ann Arbor this year. So that should be a lot of fun. So again, be sure to follow us on social media. We'll have pictures, videos, all that up there in a couple weeks. Big win for Michigan at Nebraska this week. Let's go ahead and go to our pick'em, because this is, again, just the most phenomenal slate of weekend games you're going to get.
My butt will not leave the couch.
And it shouldn't. Cancel all other plans. It starts on Friday night this weekend. TCU at Arizona State. I mean, these are two of the favorites right now to win the Big 12. The Big 12 is a fascinating conference right now with Texas Tech beating up on Utah. You got Texas Tech in the mix. TCU's playing really good. Arizona State's lost, but is still in the mix there. I mean, this is just a lot of fun. TCU at Arizona State Friday night. Don't be thrown off by that. Who you got in this game?
Well, Arizona State's the favorite right now. I think the spread was like 2.5, if I remember right, when I checked this morning. But I'm going to go with TCU. I think this is actually going to be really, really fun to watch. I think both offenses, it's going to be one of those rare games where both offenses are kind of like, okay, these could be dangerous, and then they actually go out and perform. Josh Hoover versus Sam Leavitt is going to be a great matchup, but I think we're going Horned Frogs on this one.
I 100% agree with everything you just said. We both picked Arizona State to win the Big 12 in the preseason. I think TCU made me a believer.
I liked them. They were impressive.
Again, I don't know if anyone in that conference is beating Texas Tech right now, but if anybody could, it's TCU. TCU over Arizona State. I'll roll with that too. USC at Illinois is a fascinating performance.
Is it?
I don't know.
Is it though?
My big question is, can Illinois keep the game within 50?
Yeah, I don't know a single sane person that is going to pick Illinois after watching whatever the heck that was Saturday night.
What number one, a battle of the two most unlikable coaches.
Oh, I stayed off of social media specifically on Sunday because the last thing I wanted to do was see Cignetti puffing out his chest, trying to act like it was some huge, massive thing.
But also, he should. Whatever you think of Illinois, that's a top 10 team. You just beat them by 50. That's
but it's
that's
like,
the incredible. No. I'm not going to let you do this.
I view that the same as Indiana last year against Ohio State. It's like, does anybody in this country actually really truthfully believe Illinois or Indiana is a elite level team?
Indiana just put 63 up on a Big Ten rival who was whatever you think of them, was in the top 10
on a okay
Stop.
Big Ten
You are
team.
not going to do it. You are not going to do
doing
this
it.
again.
I've done it and I'm doing it
you
again.
You have got to want to see me do it again.
Want to see me do it again?
I will take USC in this game because Jaden Mayava.
You had eyes and saw Illinois play what they thought was football on Saturday.
Oh my goodness. It is so fun to watch Brett Bielema suffer.
It never gets old.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah. USC, and I'll be watching this obviously for multiple reasons. One, maybe Illinois surprises me and bounces back, but I'm very curious to see what USC. It's hard to watch USC when they're on the West Coast, man. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm looking past Wisconsin, but if I'm looking past Wisconsin,
but I am.
I am very curious to see what USC actually looks like now that we've got more data points here. I will take USC in this game. I'm very curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I've got USC.
Notre Dame at Arkansas. Notre Dame shellacking Purdue means absolutely nothing.
They gave up so many points to Purdue.
You already know who I'm taking in this game. If you're new to the podcast, or maybe you missed last episode, my wife is from the Fayetteville area. My in-laws are from the Fayetteville area. They are all huge Arkansas fans. Woo pig suey, man. Call them hogs. I got the Arkansas. If you're wondering, what's up with the Arkansas helmet there on the desk, that's what's up. And it's not just to win brownie points with the in-laws. Arkansas will beat Notre Dame. And Notre Dame is going to suffer, and it's going to be great. You do not want to mess with Arkansas. Is a dangerous football team. Arkansas is a dangerous team, and I do not buy Notre Dame right now.
You know, in my heart of hearts,
do it.
You know, in my heart of hearts, I want to go Arkansas.
5.5. They could have been my. They could have been my stupid genius.
You know how I feel about Notre Dame.
So do it.
But I just can't. I'm going with Notre Dame. I think it's a tough game, though. I think it's closer than a Notre Dame fan would like it to be. I do love Taylor Green. I think if he goes out there and they don't contain him, they're going to be in deep trouble.
I hate you.
This
makes me madder than anything you said about Ohio State or Michigan.
What makes me even more mad is I had a couple of Notre Dame fans come at me in our comment section last week because I've called them a fraud program.
Then do it.
I can't.
You were so close.
Believe me. There's nothing more that I want to do than continue to hate on Notre Dame.
Whatever.
But for today, I must refrain.
It's gonna be a great game. 3:30, corresponding with the Ohio State game, LSU at Ole Miss. This one should be fascinating. I'm gonna let you go first. I'll go first because you already know. I've said.
Yeah.
All preseason, all season long, I've put my stake in the ground on two things. Washington has a trap game for Ohio State. I'm standing by it today. And LSU beating Clemson and winning the SEC. I'm standing by it. They will beat Lane Kiffin in the Miss.
I do think after seeing how bad Clemson is this year, that win is a little bit less impressive for me now.
Should LSU have beat Clemson by more?
Yeah, that is my question. I'm going to go with LSU as well.
Let's go.
I doubted that they'd survive the gauntlet of their schedule. They've passed every test so far. I've got to go the Tigers.
Indiana at Iowa. I threw this game in there. I realized that a lot of people are like, come on, there are so many better games out there. Hear me out, though. Mid-afternoon, 3:30 game. Kinnick Stadium on Peacock. Come on. You're telling me
has all the makings of an upset to me.
You're telling me the Kinnick voodoo isn't going to be strong there?
Give me some Kinnick magic.
Can I say, this is still from River Radio Ministries. Can I say that? I don't know. The Kinnick misfortune... No, it's Kinnick voodoo. It's going to be strong. Indiana.
Yeah, I don't think this one's even close. I think Indiana just wipes the floor.
I know Iowa just put up 40 points on Rutgers.
Stop. We don't need to talk about that.
You have a Rutgers helmet there, and a Rutgers helmet, and a Rutgers Knight helmet. Yeah, in Indiana. Now, I would love to see Iowa win this game. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, amazing!
The chaos would be great. I think Indiana wins this game. Oregon at Penn State.
Oh man, this is the one I'm most excited for.
Not even probably. There are so many good college football games this weekend, but Oregon at Penn State might be the best one, might be the most hyped one. whiteout, 7:30, undefeated teams. I mean, Penn State was a huge national championship conversation piece in the preseason. They obviously still are. Oregon, maybe a little bit less so. They certainly are in that conversation right now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have? This is going to be so much fun.
You know that I also hate Penn State.
I know you do. I'm still mad about the Arkansas thing.
That's fair. Well, I'm not a fan of it either.
Okay.
I hope that Penn State loses this. I just don't see it. I think the environment's going to be there. I think the environment's going to be there.
We've got our custom Penn State whiteout pom-pom.
Those are my trophies. Those are like the head of my enemies from every time I've gone to Penn State and Ohio State's won.
Wow, that just got... That's from a Francesca Battistelli song. That's fine.
I like Dante Moore.
Praises the water my enemy's drowning. It's fine.
Yeah, you get it. I like Dante Moore. I think this is a really good Oregon team. They're still obviously dangerous, but I just think the environment is going to be there. Happy Valley's always one of the toughest, if not the toughest place to play.
Yeah.
This feels like a game that's going to be a huge statement win for this Nittany Lion team. Drew Aller, I expect to play well. You got Singleton and Katron Allen that I expect to play well. The defense is obviously going to be there. This feels like a key win for that program this season when national championship hype is at an all-time high.
They've got to have... Here's the thing. They've got to have it.
Yeah, because you can't.
Look at their schedule.
The narrative behind James Franklin losing big games.
Look at their schedule. They don't play that many difficult games. And so while I agree with, and I reference this like every episode, I agree with Joel Klatt that you've got 10-2 should get you in the playoff. Not necessarily, because it depends on your schedule. I look at it similar to Ohio State's. Now, Ohio State has the advantage that they beat Texas. We'll see how Texas plays out the rest of the year. Ohio State doesn't have that many difficult games on their schedule. Ohio State going 10-2, losing to Washington or Penn State and Michigan, whatever, might not get them in. Penn State losing to Oregon and Ohio State, you don't play enough. You played FIU, Nevada, and your mom's alma mater high school. That's
my favorite college.
It's not going to be enough. James Franklin must have this.
He must not be Frames Janklin.
He will be.
Ooh, okay.
I know I've said a lot. I've said a lot of spicy stuff on this one about Washington, Ohio State, and Arkansas, and whatever. This is probably the spiciest take of them all. Not only will Oregon beat Penn State, Oregon will beat Penn State by 3 scores.
From your lips to God's ears.
I'll give you a score. We don't do this usually. I'll give you a score. 38-17. Oregon wipes the floor.
Oh, man, I would love nothing more.
Wipes the floor with James Franklin in the whiteout. This game will be so boring you'll flip over to Alabama at Georgia, which is going to be a fantastic game.
I'd stay for that whole beating.
We're going to run back so many things, and it's either...
You said a lot today.
I had the Washington upset.
You're coming off
I had the Arkansas upset, and I've got... It's not an upset, but I've got Oregon smashing Penn State.
Usually I'm being you right now, and you're looking at me crazy. I was
up early drinking coffee, prepping for this show. I'm ready to go. Or we're going to run this back, and it's going to just be montage, one way or the other. Alabama at Georgia, the other fantastic game in this one. Can
I go first?
You can.
Because I'm riding the vibes right now. This game gives me all the vibes of a Bama win. One where they end up beating Georgia, and then the media won't shut their mouths for like 3 weeks straight about how Bama is back.
Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It feels like that kind of game. Does it not?
You picked Alabama?
Did I like it? No. But does it not feel... It feels like they're due for one game where they beat a team that is
Louisiana Monroe.
Stop.
Wisconsin.
Stop. It feels like a game. Alabama's due for about one decent victory a season where you go, wait a minute.
You think they suck us all back in?
Yeah. And this feels like the perfect game for that. Okay. Where I'm not. Well, I feel like Georgia escaped a Tennessee loss. They played 100%, but they escaped a loss to Tennessee.
Yep.
And I think Alabama started to at least kind of get some momentum. Florida State is turning out to be a good team.
Sure.
Now, should Alabama have gotten dismantled the way they did? No. Okay. But this feels like a game where Alabama gets, I'm going to say this and it's going to make me throw up later, a little bit of their mojo back.
Okay. I'm just going to stop you right there. This is why we should only ever talk about Ohio State and Michigan.
You started this.
I will not be part of this. Second longest winning streak in the country, home winning streak, Washington. Longest, Georgia.
Two of them are snapping this week.
No, they're not. Georgia is going to beat Alabama in prime time.
Would be a shame for both of those records to go.
Because Alabama is about to drop like 4 straight games. They play Georgia, Vanderbilt, LSU, Tennessee. Loss. Georgia. That one's not that crazy. You're being a little bit chaotic in that one.
I'm here for it.
I love my chaos picks. I'm just going to tell you, like, again, when Washington beats Ohio State, when Arkansas beats Notre Dame, when Oregon dismantles Penn State, y'all come back now.
Wait. You said you're stupid genius.
I didn't.
But I still have mine on the board.
Okay, what's your stupid genius here?
Nobody.
Was it Alabama, Georgia? I don't know what the spread was.
It wasn't,
there.
But honestly, it would have been a great pick. Actually, I don't think the spread was big enough for that yet.
You could still pick Arkansas 5.5.
I could, but I won't.
Just do whatever you're gonna do.
Something that nobody has ever said.
Something our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ said. What you're doing, do it quickly.
Something that nobody has ever said, probably, except for maybe his mom. Ethan Kaliak-Mattis revenge game. I'm taking Rutgers over Minnesota. Right now, the line is exactly 5.5 points for Minnesota. That offense has been hot.
Why are you
Ian
this
Strong,
way?
DT Sheffield, KJ Duff, Ethan Kaliak-Mattis.
Please,
give me Scarlet Knights.
Did you just put random football names into a chat?
We'll never know.
Yikes.
Give me those boys from Jersey.
Please stop.
I'll even give you a score.
I don't need a score.
27.
We don't care about
17.
This. We don't care about this. I will say this though. You are up 22.5-0 on Super Genius.
I've been pretty good.
Got to be 5.5 point dogs. You get it right. You get whatever the spread was when we recorded. You got Florida State over Alabama. You got Maryland over Wisconsin. Who am I to judge you? I took Wisconsin,
but a man.
I took Washington.
Yeah,
and then I also took Arkansas, and
it's
also Oregon wiping the. We'll just see what happens. Are you done
giving
now?
yourself like 4 different stupid geniuses to try and hit as a comeback? That's not how this works.
I'm like quadrupling down so that we know where things stand this weekend when you're watching football.
That's fair.
Please subscribe to this podcast. The Rivalry Podcast is part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and the River Podcast Network from River Radio Ministries.
New episodes out every Monday.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening right now, and follow on social media at RivalPod and RivalPod.com.
And if you like what you hear, share with a friend so they can listen too.
Wherever you go, whatever they get into. From chill time to everyday adventures, protect your dog from parasites with Credelio Quattro. For full safety information, side effects, and warnings, visit CredeliaQuattroLabel.com. Consult your vet or call 1-888-545-5973. Ask your vet for Credelio Quattro and visit QuattroDog.com.